If you watch my videos, you probably know that I like fantasy games a lot. Next to historical wargaming, it may just be my favorite genre. And I also like cooperative games, both because of, well, the cooperative dynamics to work together with my friends, and also because usually they're solitaire friendly, so that when no one is around, I can still play them controlling several sides or several characters. So because of all of these things, I was very excited about Set a Watch. Here I have the deluxe edition. In this game, the players control 4 fantasy heroes that are traveling or visiting different locations. Not all 4 of them. One is staying at the camp doing supporting actions, and 3 of them are out there in the front line exploring mysterious locations and fighting against hordes of monsters. You do that turn after turn, fighting more monsters, and then you fight more monsters, and then you fight some more monsters, and finally there is the final encounter in which you fight more monsters. Maybe you start seeing one of the problems that I've had with this game. I only play solitaire, so there is that disclaimer right there, because for reasons that will emerge, I didn't feel any need to play with my friends. Maybe you play with your friends and you had a blast and a half, good for you. But that has not been my experience. Set a Watch. Let me show you how the game works. The player or players of the game will control a party of 4 heroes. There are always 4 heroes regardless of the number of players. So if you're playing solo, you need to control all 4. There are more than 4 to choose from. Here I just set up 4 to show you how the game may look like. And also these are 4 heroes that I actually like. Each hero comes with a board such as this one. The board will tell you the kind of dice that the hero uses. They can be 8-sided or 6-sided. There is an icon that will tell you if the hero uses melee attack, like in these 2 examples, or range attacks, like in those cases there. And then we have abilities. We have cards representing abilities. You choose, or you place 3 on the personal board at the beginning of the game. These are available. You can use them, you can trigger them, and pretty much do what the card says. And then you have other 2 that are not available at the beginning of the game, and during the game you can use game effects to switch them around and turn the active ones, put them in reserve, and vice versa. The cards are double-sided. On one side, well, you have the ability that you can use and a full illustration. The other side, you still have the ability, so you know what it does, but you have this icon that tells you that the ability is exhausted and you will need to use game effects to flip it face up. During the game, you may choose to exhaust your abilities to trigger the effect when you are not able to trigger it otherwise. There are game effects, special attacks from monsters that will exhaust the abilities if all of the heroes on watch have all their abilities exhausted. Then the players lose the game. Basically, you need to survive constant attacks from large numbers of monsters without getting all of your heroes on watch exhausted in all of their abilities. Here we have the camp, which I like in terms of production, because actually that is the lid of the box that becomes the camp. Also, the inside of the box you put a card here, which is the starting cards of the horde. During the game, you will fight against monsters that come from a monster deck, and you're trying to eliminate all of the monsters that will show up each turn. The ones that you don't eliminate will attack you, exhausting some of your abilities, and then they will go into the horde pile. At the end of the game, you will have a mega encounter in which you need to resolve whatever is in the final location, plus all the monsters that have been piling up in the horde. And then we have a deck of unused location cards and a deck of location cards that represent the places that the players will need to explore. Each location card will have some effects. Here there is an effect that the location card will have on the fire, on how much wood you have. And for example here, when I reveal this location, we'll lose 3 points of fire, and then the number of of monster cards that will form a line of monsters that we will have to face this turn. There may also be other effects here. In all of these locations are pretty bad. In the unused locations, you shuffle the 2 decks in a way that the unused locations have some locations that also have some good stuff, but you cannot get them unless you use GameFX precisely to do so. GameFX precisely to change cards, to swap cards from the main deck to the regular deck. So as during the game, each turn you will reveal a card. You will choose one of your heroes that will stay at the camp as the other 3 heroes then go and fight against the monsters, and you continue like this until you have exhausted this deck of locations. At the last location, you do what the location says, you defeat the monsters that are there, the monsters that come from the horde, and if you're able to do so before all of your heroes are exhausted, you win the game. So, at the beginning of a turn, all players roll their dice, and then, well, you look what you got, and then you choose which hero will be at the camp. Each turn there will be a hero staying at the camp and 3 heroes going to fight against the monster. The hero at the camp will get a token on their card. Suppose that this turn the ranger stays at the camp, so we place that token there. Each hero must stay at the camp twice per game, so if the ranger was to be there again at some point, I will flip this like ×1 camp token to its ×2 side, and so each hero at the end of the game needs to have a ×2 camp token on their card. When we decide which hero stays at the camp, then the hero gets to take actions before the other heroes go. The actions are the hero can spend dice to chop firewood. Each die that is placed there, regardless of the result, will advance the fire by 2. And suppose that here we decide to spend 2 of those there, and so we got that. You can choose to scout ahead, but the trick is that if you place a die there, you want to do that ability multiple times. The following dice need to be higher than the first. When you take the scout ahead, you draw and look at the top 2 creatures, the top 2 monsters of the creature deck, and you rearrange them however you like, and then you can choose to return them to the bottom or the top of the creature deck. Check the map. You can do that only with a die which is 4 or more. Then you draw the top card from the map deck and the top card from the unused location deck, and you decide which one goes where. Other actions, you can heal, but only with exactly 6. Kind of weird. Not like 6 or plus, exactly a 6, and then you can refresh one exhausted ability. Also, when you stay at the camp, you automatically heal one exhausted ability. So, since somebody maybe needs to heal. Equip, the equip action, you place a die there, you spend a die there, and then you can swap an ability card from your player board with one that is outside of your player board. Now I've been moving these dice around to show how it works, but of course each die can only be used once for a specific effect. Also here, I like this idea, on the back of the location cards there are runes. If you roll the doubles, say we rolled 2 5s, then you can choose to place the doubles here. They become available actions, but again, only with doubles. If you have a set of 3, then you can choose to place them all there and activate all the abilities indicated on the back of the card. Those abilities are Seal, that is, allows you to remove a specially evil monster, the Unhallowed, from the graveyard, so it will not come back. Those monsters tend to come back during the game. Vanquish, you remove the top creatures of the horde from the game. Bolster, all adventurers that are on watch, that are going to fight against the monsters, can reroll any number of their dice. And so we get to that point. So the hero of the camp does these abilities pretty much to support the people that will then go to fight against the horde. You will draw a number of cards from the creature deck equal to the number indicated there, so it will be 8 in this case. And for your convenience, I already placed a card of 8 face down cards there. Important thing, we get to see some of those cards, that is, they turn face up. And usually you can only attack face up cards unless there's a game effect that specifically says you can attack a face down card. We reveal, when we start that phase in which the heroes attack the monster, we reveal a number of cards indicated by the firewood marker. Here we reveal 2 cards. If the firewood marker was here or anywhere here, we would reveal 3, but we revealed 2. We revealed the first 2 cards of the monster line, and the rulebook doesn't say that clearly, but basically what happens is that for the time being, well, we can attack these ones, again, unless game effects allow us to do so. And if we kill one of these, then the next one will move in and be revealed, and will move into that slot. But again, for now, we only have those 2 that are available. Then there are no specific turns. Simply the players can use their dice and their resources to perform actions. You can place a die on one of your abilities to trigger it, and in which case you do what the ability says without exhausting it. You can also choose to exhaust an ability to still trigger it and still use it when you do not allocate a die to it. Or maybe you already allocated a die and you want to do it again, but again, this time you have to exhaust it. You can simply also allocate dice to fight against the monsters. The monster cards will tell you the special effects that the monsters cause. The number of wounds, that is the number of abilities that the monster exhausts if the monster is not defeated and is placed from the line into the horde pile. And here the number of health points. Sometimes it is a single point number, sometimes it's a game effects that tells you what that is. And so players can simply pile up dice there to defeat those monsters. A hero with range attacks can only defeat the first monster in the line, that is the one that is closest to the deck. A hero with range attacks can attack the other thing. So suppose, for example, we have the knight. The knight decides to use this ability. This is on their board, allocates a die to it, defeat any creature in first position. Boom, we defeat this one, discard that. Moving on. And then maybe we have the rogue that had these 2 dice, allocates them there, and this one is also defeated. Although when this creature reached the first position, we also had to resolve this effect. So maybe instead of doing that, instead of having first the knight killing this one, we should try to use a game effects that kills this one before it goes to the first position. This sort of thing. There's a little bit of a puzzle here as you try to maximize your attacks, allocate your resources, minimize the negative effects that come from the fact that monsters have all sort of different things that they can do at different times in different situations. But this is the general idea. You're trying to kill every monster in the line each turn. At the end of a turn, you reveal a new location and you repeat. Send the hero to the camp, doing things. Send 3 people to fight against the line of monsters, and you continue like this. At the end of the game, defeat the last locations with the monster associated with it, plus whatever monsters have been piling up in the horde pile, and if you're able to do so, you win the game. I like the art in this game. I think the production values are very good, especially in this deluxe edition, but I haven't seen the standard one, so I cannot compare. But the art, the production, I was very happy. I am disproportionately happy when I see boxes that are also used as game components. They're just an irrational thing that I have, so I just like that idea. When it comes to gameplay, I was very excited about gameplay when I finally figured it out, because the rulebook I felt left out several significant elements. Then I went online, did a little bit of research. Not ideal, but not a deal breaker. So I thought, okay, I think I get it. This is gonna be exciting, a lot of fantasy fighting, awesome. A lot of good ideas in theory, but then to me the execution fell a little bit flat. I just was not very excited. I just, in the end, felt a little bit, the experience felt bland. Again, think about the potential and the ideas, which I think are great. I really like this unusual mechanic of somebody stays behind and somebody goes. It's a great idea, if nothing else, because, well, I guess I haven't seen it before, so it really struck me as original. I like the fact that you're rolling the dice for everybody, and then, oh, your dice really sucked this round. Maybe you should stay at the camp, especially if the actions that we are planning to take as a group do not require high rolls, and maybe you're okay with just ones and twos that are gonna go in the to chop firewood, for example. And then everybody else goes with their dice and their abilities to fight those monsters. I like the fact that there is no fixed turn structure. I could use a die, you could use an action, then somebody else uses 2 dice, then another action, then I exhaust a card for an action. I like that level of option, being able to use an action every time, every turn, if I have the right dice, or really push for a big immediate payoff, knowing that I have to face consequences later because I exhausted one of my cards. But then maybe next turn I go to the camp and I'm able to clear, to unexhaust one of my cards for free. So I like those ideas, and in the first turn or two I was very excited. But after a while, in the second half of a game, I was already a little bit bored by the repetitive nature of the game. The game is about managing, avoiding or reducing attrition, but it's attrition without development. Basically, the group starts with some cards already face down, already exhausted, but other than that, the group is as strong as it could ever be. You don't level up, you don't acquire magical items, you don't acquire new abilities, you switch some of the abilities that you had available at the beginning. It just feels a little exciting that way, if nothing else, because in fantasy gaming, so much of the fun, at least for me, is about developing your characters. Here's about stay the way you are, more or less, at the beginning and try not to get worse. That means you are defending the status quo. You're trying to keep the game static, which right there makes it not as exciting as other games in which you're trying to improve. And how it is that you're trying to keep the game static, which is to face the final encounter with your abilities intact, like you had the same abilities maybe that you had at the beginning. The way you do it is by fighting hordes and hordes of monsters. There is a saving or half-saving grace in the fact that the effects that the monsters have make them behave so differently. So it is not just matching a number on the die with the health points, but preventing them from triggering certain effects that they have, say, when they get in first position. And then you have a little bit of a puzzle situation. Then the ranger is going to attack that one because the ranger can attack in second position. Oh no, but the character doesn't have the right dice. Wait a second, I can activate an ability that increases the range of everybody. Then the warrior that usually only has melee attacks could attack a faraway monster before that reaches first position, but that's gonna move the other monster, Interesting as a puzzle when I was playing the solitaire game, but that's one of the reasons why I don't feel like playing the game with other people, because then I'm just afraid that there's gonna be the problem of analysis paralysis, which I don't mind when I'm doing the entire analysis, and it's a solitaire player, and also the alpha player. I can totally see like a player with self-confidence and some grasp of the game totally pushing the other player in a position of maybe not subservience, but we have seen that happening. The player that knows the game and sitting there with the player maybe a little shy and insecure, then the alpha player is going to tell everybody what to do. And that's not all that fun. So everything is there in the open. There is a puzzle, and if somebody has an insight about how to solve it and other people don't, it can be not that fun. But ultimately, I didn't have that problem playing solo. I see how that may happen, but the problem that I have is that while the puzzles are interesting when I do those 9 times, I get to the final epic encounter, which is a much longer encounter. It doesn't feel like it's more. It doesn't feel more than the sum of the parts. It's nothing else because literally there's just more of the same parts. So I see how the game is supposed to give you a build-up of tension as the monsters pile up on the horde, but actually by the end of a game, instead of being excited, oh, there's gonna be an epic battle, I was like, there's gonna be a battle like I've been playing the entire game, just longer. And to me, that's really the problems. Attrition without development and without enough variety to really keep me interested. That's what I have to say. It's a game that I thought had great potential, that I was really excited about, that looks really good when you set it up, that I think has a lot of ideas, but something, in my opinion, needs to be tweaked to make the game more exciting, to give it more of a narrative arc, and to make it feel not as much as just a constant repetition of the same. Because that, unfortunately, is the impression that I have playing the game, and well, that is the impression that I'm sharing with you in my video. Set a watch, great idea, but the execution to me was not particularly exciting.